Hello you guys, so it is another Sunday and we are going to be doing another paint along. So this time we're going to be doing the start of the Halloween themed painting. So it's going to be so exciting because I love Halloween. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to be doing this painting today. And so it's really fun, large pumpkin and then a smaller one with the polka dots. And I love polka dots, so I'm excited for that background. And so we're gonna be going in with a 11 by 14 canvas. That's what I'm using right now, so it's a little bit longer vertically, but you could go ahead and use a square 12 by 12. That would look really nice and cute. You could do bigger too. Remember, any size will work on this canvas and for this painting, which is really great and exciting. Now you're gonna need some brushes, and we're gonna need a bigger brush this time. So if you haven't, go ahead, grab that. I'm gonna grab it too. So kind of a thicker brush, and then you're gonna need the normal round number 8 and also the square number 8, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, get that bigger brush, which I have a drawer full of brushes, which is really helpful. And I'm thinking something, I'll give you a few options so you can kind of see. So you could do something like this, that would work nice, or something a little bit chunkier like that. So either one of those would work great. And then this is the number 8 round and number 8 square. So we're going to be using these 3 brushes for this painting today of the pumpkins and polka dots, okay? And if you don't know who I am, my name is Willow and I am an art teacher and an artist here in Rochester, Minnesota. So if you are joining from somewhere, a different state, please in the comments tell us where you are from. That would be awesome. This video will be available after the live feed on my Facebook page, and also it will be posted on my YouTube channel. It takes me a little bit longer to upload it there, so that will be later tonight. It should be up there on the YouTube channel, which is Wilhelmina Art Studio. I have a lot of fun things on my YouTube channel. I have draw-alongs, paint-alongs, and then I also have a section where it's just my everyday life, what I'm up to. And please check it out and subscribe. I think I'm up to now 40 subscribers, so that's awesome. And also, if you can, and only if you're able, if you could put a Venmo donation, that would be so awesome. I am most appreciative if you can do that, but only if you are able. We are in hard times right now, so I totally understand. My Venmo account is Willow, W-I-L-L-O-W, G and a 3. So Willow G3 is my Venmo account. And my profile picture is me wearing a black beret. I was in the Netherlands a few years ago, so that's where I took that photo. So that would be awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So go ahead and get a pencil. I'm gonna be using a black Sharpie so you can see it more clearly. And we're gonna zoom in the camera a little bit. Now, before we zoom in though, just remember, we're using acrylics, okay? So make sure you have some acrylic paints out, and let's go ahead, and I'm gonna show you my palette here. I have quite a bit of paint here. So I have the red, yellow, blue, tiny bit of blue. We'll just maybe use a little bit because we need to make green, and lots of white. On a separate plate, I have black, okay? So I do that because I have so much and I don't want it going into my other colors and making them look like mud, so I don't want that. So I have a separate plate for the black because the background is going to be black. So these are acrylic paints. Just remember, acrylic paint, all it is plastic, so it's very easy to use. You just use water to dilute it and to wash your brushes out, okay? So acrylic paints, have those handy. I like to use paper plates. Those are our palettes. We got our water container, paper towels, our 3 brushes, canvas. I think we're ready to go. So now grab your pencil, and I got my Sharpie so you can see, and we're just gonna bring this in a little closer so that way you can see the canvas. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start off with this larger pumpkin here, and we're gonna go ahead don't mind those. I spilled a little paint on my canvas before the class. There we go. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jot down a big pumpkin, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and just be nice and loose. Don't get hung up, especially if you're a first timer. Don't worry about getting everything perfect because we're gonna be painting and it's gonna change as we're painting. So we're gonna go ahead, just think 2 large parentheses. So go ahead, there we go. Nice curve like that. Then you're gonna do the other side of your parentheses. Do a little skip right here. Leave a little space there, about a 1-inch space. Okay, so that's the start of our big pumpkin. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do some curves, okay? So those pumpkins have those nice curves on them. So we're gonna go in and up like that. So from the outer edge, we're gonna go up and around. Now, this is power painting, you guys, so don't overthink it. You're just gonna put it down and keep moving. We're doing this in 1 hour. So now you're gonna go up just a tiny bit on that line we did, and now you're gonna go up and over, okay? Now you're gonna go again. A little space, there you go. Then up and over, and we're gonna do another one, up and over. It's okay, they're all gonna be a little different shapes. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put in this line right here. See that? It's not up and flush. With this line, it's down a little bit. So you're gonna go down a tiny bit on the curve, then go up. And same over here. So it looks like it's set in. This is the green part of the top of the pumpkin, and then the stem is gonna emerge out of this shape here. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go up from here, and we're gonna go up from this side like that, and then we're gonna put the stem in. And then this is kind of where you can have your own style to it, which I love to see what everyone comes up with. So when we get going on this painting, if you want to take in progress photos and post them in the comment section, that would be awesome, so everyone can see how you're doing throughout this process. And also, if you're doing this from a later time and date, do the same thing. Find this video, put it in the comments what you're working on. Also, make sure you post the finished result. I love seeing those, and I love getting in contact with you guys and seeing how it went and how the painting, how you enjoyed it all. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and I just did kind of a little curly cue here. There we go. Don't worry about trying to make things, you know, perfectly smooth. If your hand does a little bobble, that's all right. It'll just make it more interesting, the shapes. So we have our large pumpkin here. It's working really nicely. Now let's go over to our smaller pumpkin. So that's gonna be down over here. Now notice I kind of stopped here and here. So we're gonna go ahead and fit our pumpkin into that shape. So from right here and from right here, we're just gonna go ahead and do a half of a circle that's gonna come up like that to there, and then it's gonna come down, kind of a flat bottom on it, and then back up. There you go. There's our next pumpkin shape. Now we need to add some variation in the shape because we don't want just like a round soccer ball. So we need to make it look more like a pumpkin. So we need to add these kind of scallop shapes to the smaller. So we need to make sure the scale is smaller too. So let's go ahead, round, curve, round, 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 and around. There we go. You can do as many as you like. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could do that many. You could do 3. You could do 7. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do a little bit of a curve here and here, set into this green space. And then we're gonna do another stem. This one's gonna be a little shorter, and I'm gonna have it kind of go the opposite direction here, like that. That's gonna be my stem. So it can have a bit more of a stylized look to it. It doesn't have to be realistic. So now we're gonna go ahead And we're gonna put some really nice vines in later on towards the end of the painting. We're not going to draw them out right now because otherwise we'd have to be really careful in painting in the orange on either side. So we'll work on that later. So now let's go ahead and jot down where we want our circles for the polka dots in the background. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put in all different size polka dots, small, medium, large. Some of them can be even kind of cropped off your canvas, and they can just be anywhere you wish. Just try and make sure they're random. So think of like a zigzag pattern. Start with that, and then you can slowly start sort of filling in. So here I'll start off my zigzag. So here, here, here. So kind of working in all different areas here. So back and forth, and different sizes. Do a large one here. There we go. See, it's just nice and random. And I think something's missing over here. So I think I just need a small one here and here. There we go. Very cute. This is such a cute painting. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead, you guys, and let's put in a few lines. So just right in here, we're gonna kind of chisel into the line that we just put in. So we're just gonna go kind of up and then down and curve. So we're just gonna get rid of this line right here. Don't worry about it because we're gonna be painting the background black. So we'll just bring our black all the way up in there and it will cover that line. We're gonna do the same thing over on this pumpkin. So what we did was we have a general shape and then we're gonna kind of chisel into the shape. So we're gonna go ahead, so right about here, curve in like that. Now go down there. So we're gonna get rid of this line right there. And again, we're gonna go curve up and then we're gonna go down. So we'll get rid of this little line there. And then we're gonna go down and up. And then we're gonna bring this line up just a little bit there. So that's the center. So the center is gonna be kind of the bigger one. Then we're gonna go down and up, and down and up. Like that. So now we have a really nice pumpkin shape to it. And then as we're painting too, we'll add some shadows so that way it doesn't look cut and paste. All right, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of a curve here. So like this is the bottom there, and then it has a little bit of a curve. So think anywhere where there's the line here, that's gonna be a ridge. So that's gonna be a groove in the pumpkin. And then just make sure that they're curved a little bit with the pumpkin. If you just go straight up and down, it's gonna look very flat. So make sure you're kind of curving a little bit on the pumpkin surface so that way it looks round. It looks like it's coming out at you and not just flat. Okay, so I think we are ready to go. Let's go ahead and get some paint. So again, we're using acrylics. So that is my palette. I have lots of yellow because we are going to be making orange for our pumpkin, so we need lots of yellow to do that. And just remember, the red is very, very, very powerful, so make sure when you're mixing up, first move yellow over to another section of your palette, add a tiny bit of red into it. If you were to start off with red first, and then you pull the yellow in, you're gonna end up using so much yellow, you're not gonna have any yellow left because you're gonna be trying to change a big pile of red, and that's gonna be very difficult to do and you'll be wasting a lot of paint. So always start off with a weaker color first, move it over, then add the strong color, little bit at a time. You'll be much more happier with your color mixing process. All right, let's go ahead and let's start off with our first coat of orange. Normally we start off with the background first, but we're gonna need so many coats of orange. We're gonna start with that first. So grab your round brush, okay? And this is a number 8 brush. So we're gonna go ahead, take our yellow, plop it down over here, And I'm gonna do, let's do about 4 or 5 big globs of yellow. And then we're gonna add a tiny bit of red. So look at how tiny that is. Just a little bit. And notice I didn't wash my brush out because the red is so powerful. A little yellow in there isn't gonna mess it up too much. So just a little bit. And you can see it changed it just a little tiny bit. Now I'm gonna take a little bit more. Ooh, it's like a sunflower color. Oh, it's so pretty. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead. Let's go over the colors that we're gonna use. So also the lighting. So the colors we're gonna use are gonna be brighter and lighter up in this area here. And then they're gonna start to get darker down here, okay? Same on the smaller one, brighter at the top, and then it's gonna get darker oranges at the bottom. So we're gonna use this lighter kind of orange color for our light areas first, here and also here. So let's go ahead and we're just gonna do some curve strokes here, like that. So on every single section, we're just gonna go ahead and drag our brush. And notice I'm going on the outer edge. And notice it's very irregular. We're gonna go ahead up over here. Just a little bit on that side, because that's gonna be pretty dark over there. So you can see already we're making it more dimensional just with that one color. Now let's do the same thing over on the smaller pumpkin. So just a curve. There we go. Okay, we're gonna go ahead now and keep your brush dirty. We're gonna add a little bit of red over onto the corner of this orange, not the whole thing, onto the corner. So we're gonna make a little bit darker red using the same color on the edge of it. There we go. So see that difference? So a bit darker. So we're going to be using this darker orange for the bottom area here. So we're going to just go ahead and drag that up. We're going to go ahead, do the same thing here. So I'm just going to go across here, fill that a little bit. So we're going to leave some white spaces. Right now we're just loosely blocking in the local color. So just the general color that we see on our pumpkins. We're just gonna drag that in so we have the shapes down. So now we're gonna go into the smaller one. So this whole shape is going to be pretty dark orange. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead. And don't worry if you run out of this color. As you're going, mix up another color. Try and get to the same, but if you can't get the exact color, that's all right. So I'm going now on to the other side. So these two colors meet up to each other, and it's okay if there is some white space still exposed. Now we're gonna go ahead, and why don't we go into a little bit more red on the sturdy brush. So more red into this mixture. Just swirling it around, mixing what I have on my brush. So I'm kind of pushing down on my brush, twisting it, swirling to get that color out. So very kind of dark red orange. We're gonna use this now and just do a little mark here, like that. Little mark here and here. I want this area to be a little darker. And on the bottoms of our smaller pumpkin, we're going to use this darker red orange. There we go. Just going to put in a little bit of that red orange just in this area. There we go. It's such a pretty color. I just want to use it in more areas. As I'm applying it, I want to see more of it. There we go. Pretty. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and wash your brush out really good. So that is our blocking in section for the pumpkin. So what we're doing is we're getting light source. So we're getting that the light is coming from over here. It's spilling down, nice and bright tops, and then it's going to be shadowed more of the darker red oranges below and in the grooves. So let's leave that to dry, and then we'll put another coat on top of it. Okay, so wash that brush, just dry it off. I'm drying it on my paper towel. So we're gonna go ahead and set that off to the side. If you have a bigger brush, so a bit more of a square brush like that, this says it's a 3/4 inch. So that's what that one is. Or if you have a little bit bigger one, I'm sure that's probably about 1 inch. Okay, so I'm gonna use the 3/4, and I'm gonna go ahead and block in the background with the black. So switch out your palette, grab your other one with the black, and we're gonna go ahead and get some black on our brush, and we're gonna start to layer that in. And just go into the big areas of openness first, and then you can carefully go around and curve to get those polka dots. If you're not comfortable with the bigger brush, you could just go in, get the big areas covered just like this, and just filling those big areas in. And then to get the smaller areas, go in with your round brush, and then you could cut in with the black. You could definitely do that. Same goes for cutting in around your pumpkins. Now, when you get to this area, this is where you're gonna go in a little bit. So you're gonna go up and then in and then around. Up, in, and then around. You can see, no one would know that you had first a circle shape and then you cut into it. So we're just going to go in very carefully around all of these polka dots. And the reason why we're going around them is because we don't have time to paint the whole background and then put white on top. It would just take too long, the black to dry, and also the white would turn gray, and then you're going to have these muddy kind of polka dots. If you do have time, you could fill the whole thing black, wait for it to dry completely, and then add the white polka dots. But we are just going to go ahead and just be really careful, cut in around our polka dot shapes that we have. with our black acrylic paint. So just go ahead, take your time. And flip your brush over. A lot of time there's lots of paint over on the other side. Here we go. We're just gonna keep on going, filling in. So just be careful going up into the pumpkin, kind of cutting in those scallops for the bottom of it. Okay, just gotta load up again. Just want a clean line on that edge of the pumpkin. And you could do way more polka dots too if you like. If you were gonna do more polka dots though, I would recommend painting the whole thing black in the background around the two pumpkins and then wait for it to dry and then add the dots on top. So then you don't have to cut in around everything. You might go a little mad doing that. There we go. And then don't forget about under the stem there, almost forgot. Gotta get that filled in. There we go. Excellent, there we go. We got it chiseled all in. our background. So go ahead and you can just set your brush in the water container. You don't need to wash it out though, just park it into that water and then it will be fine until the end of class. Otherwise, if you wash it all out, then you're gonna have to get new water. So we're gonna go ahead and put your black paint off to the side. Now go ahead, get your other palette. We're gonna go back in with a round brush. Now mine is still a tiny bit wet. It's almost dry on the oranges here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make up some green and we're gonna do green on the stems, okay? So we're gonna go ahead, get some yellow off to the side and a little bit of blue. So yellow first, and then a tiny bit of blue, about that much. Swirl that into your yellow. And it's like magic. There we go, we got some green. We got lime green. So I want it to be a little bit darker green, so I'm gonna add a little bit more blue to this mixture. There we go. Now we're getting kind of a Kelly green. If you want it to be a little bit more natural looking, what you can do, a little trick, add a tiny bit of red to this. It will just make it more of a sage green than a real bright Kelly green. If you want it to be more vibrant and fun, cheerful, more approachable or more kid-friendly kind of a thing, this is more of a jollier green, but if you want it to be more subdued and a little bit more mature, then you can add a tiny bit of red into it. And I'll do a little bit of red so you can just kind of get a feel for what I'm talking about. So a little red. See that? It just makes it more of a sage green. So bright and cheerful, a little bit more subdued with a little bit of red mixed into that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a little bit more of the cheerful version first. So that Kelly green. And I'm gonna go in and just carefully fill in the stem. Now just be careful, the black is still wet, so it will mix a little with the green. So just try and barely touch the background. There you go. And I'm using my round number 8 brush. And that's just a pack that I got at Michael's. Those cheaper brushes, they really do work really well. I use them for my painting. There we go. And then I'm gonna wait to do this little area because it's just so wet. I know I'm gonna touch it and it's gonna turn black, the stem. So I'm just gonna do the big areas first on both the stems of the pumpkins. There we go. All right, so let's wash our brush out. Now let's go back into those pumpkins. Let's add some really nice dynamic strokes in there so it just livens it up. So let's go ahead and with our round brush, let's go into our oranges that we already have here. So I'm gonna go, I have some yellow waiting for me and I'm just gonna mix it into what I have left of my orange. So I might have to add a little bit more red. And we're gonna go back to kind of a lighter orange first. There we go. So I'm gonna use this lighter orange and I'm gonna go in and we're gonna do kind of these really broad strokes. So I'm gonna go ahead and let me just get this. There we go. So I'm gonna just do some broad strokes, kind of like that. So 2 there. I'm gonna do another one about there. So I'm gonna apply this other orange in between the light and the dark. And I'm not trying to go back and forth, I'm just adding to it. So we're building on top these layers to make it more dimensional. Sometimes when you start going back and forth, it starts to kind of make it flatter, your painting, instead of building it up. Not trying to smooth it down or smother it down. Okay, so now I'm adding a little bit more red to my orange. Now I'm just gonna go into my darker areas of orange, that first layer, and I'm just gonna do another coat, and also think broad strokes. We wanna see the strokes on top of the canvas. So just really nice, energetic strokes. Making sure we're doing the darker, kind of in the grooves of the pumpkins and on the lower half of the pumpkins, so that way we get our light source. There we go, and I'm gonna use the same darker orange for the smaller pumpkin. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna add more yellow into the side of the darker. So I'm just gonna go back to the lighter, and I'm gonna add this orange to the transition to the edge of the light and the dark. There we go, and I'm gonna add more yellow. So now you can see it's starting to mush together. So I have quite a bit of paint actually on the surface. So I'm adding more yellow on top of what I already have down. And so when I mean yellow, I'm just gonna have straight yellow on my dirty brush. See that? And then I'm mixing it right on the surface of the canvas. So that's called direct painting. So we're mixing right on the surface of the canvas. And that's where the magic happens when you're painting. So we blocked it in, getting the light and dark, so we understood where the light and dark was happening. Now we're going in with those same colors, and we're just kind of applying them and building on top, knowing that there needs to be lightness at the top here, and here, and over on this side just a little bit, and then darker on the bottom area. So I'm adding more yellow to my dirty brush. You can see when you put that straight yellow on top of the wet paint, how it just, when you drag it, it really adds a pretty effect. So I'm just adding more yellow to my dirty orange brush, dragging it into the existing wet colors and on top of the first layer. There we go. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, now we're gonna wash our brush out. So we have darks, lights, and I was going in pure yellow, broad strokes curving on the tops and then gliding into the wet paint. So wash your round brush out really good. Okay, and then we're gonna go in and get some green, the same green that we used earlier, and we're just gonna go in and carefully fill in the stem here and any other spots that we missed. And I got a little bit of orange on the stem, so I'll just put another coat on top of that. Now it's a little flat, the stems there, so I need to add a little bit more of a darker green, and then we need to add the fun swirly stems and vines all around. So we're gonna add a little bit more blue to our green. There we go. So I'm gonna use this blue-green on the under part of the stem. And I'm going to have it on the right side of that stem over here. Okay, now I'm just going to go in with my dirty brush. I added more yellow to it. And so I'm just going to go in with a pure yellow right along the edge, pretty thickly. And just bringing some of that yellow down into this area here. So again, pure yellow on my dirty brush, we're dragging it up into the stem, down onto the left side of the base. Oh, it's so pretty. Okay, I need to add more contrast though. So I'm gonna add a little bit more of the blue-green color and just get more dark. There we go. You'll notice you might not think it needs more dark, but then once you add it, all of a sudden you have more dimension. Just add a little bit over there. There we go. It's coming along. Now I'm gonna go in with a little bit more, wash my brush out. I'm gonna go with a little bit more yellow, and I'm just gonna touch up. There's a few areas that I missed. So my paint is super thick and wet on the canvas, and here, I'm gonna bring it closer so you can see what I'm talking about, how thick it is. So you can see it's super wet and shiny. You can see it's very, very, very thick on there. All right, so there you can kind of see it a little better close up. So I'm adding more yellow to the top areas of the pumpkin. So here, just a really thick amount of paint and dragging it. So for this painting, we're using a bit more paint on the surface, and that's just a stylistic choice to make. And it's really nice because you'll notice certain styles work well with certain subject matter. So we're using pumpkins, so thick paint works super well when you're depicting pumpkins. And so I'm just adding more yellow to my tops of my round, lumpy pumpkins. So I'm gonna go up at the top here. Cleaning up the edge too. If it's kind of rough, you can just add a nice drag of some paint. add just a little bit more of a darker, there we go, just along that edge and dragging up a bit more of the darker orange, just so it separates between the two pumpkins a little bit more. Oh wow, it's really starting to pop now. So try not to control the paint so much. Sometimes we get a little hung up on getting the paint exactly in the same spot and you know, not letting the paint just do its own thing, being on the surface of the canvas and working with what you have already in existence. And I love seeing the actual strokes. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go in now, wash your brush out the round one. And we're gonna go in and create some nice vines all around, nice and swirly. Make sure your hand is further back on your paintbrush handle, so that way you'll have nice movement. If you're sitting, I recommend standing for this part, because then that way you can have the whole motion with your whole entire arm. So not just your hand and your wrist, and then you're trying to do these like curly cues and it's just very confined. So you need to make sure you're using your whole arm first, and then go down into your elbow, your movement, then into your wrist and hand. So everything is starting here and then it's vibrating down through your hand, all right? So just do a few practice, kind of going clockwise and counterclockwise, so that way you have a nice flow. Almost think like you're a conductor in music, because that gets you the right motion of using the whole rotation of your arm. So with saying that, do a few practice swirls just all around, and you're just gonna go ahead, use that whole arm. Imagine your brush is your wand. So then once you've done a few practice swirls, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go in with some, let's actually go in with a little bit of some green. So I ran out of green, so I'm gonna mix more yellow into what I had there, and then it will start to kind of dissolve. There we go. So any green will do. This is just kind of the jotting down green, so we kind of get down the vines, the shapes first. So we're gonna start off and we're gonna do kind of a curly cue going this way with a little bit of a leaf, okay? So we're gonna start off, it's hooked onto this stem here, and we're gonna go up and out and then a leaf. So we're gonna go here, hand further back. We're gonna go up, out, and there. Okay, so my hand kind of skipped a little bit. That's okay. You don't want to go back in and then do a thick stroke and then it's really chunky. So make sure, stop there. It's okay that the line broke, because that's actually an accident in disguise. So we're going to make sure, or I should say it's an opportunity in disguise. We're going to use that, and we're going to, where it broke, that's where the leaf is going to go. So we're gonna go ahead, and where there's a break here, we're just gonna go ahead and put in a little leaf right there. Okay, so it worked out. So I'm gonna go ahead, I have a tiny bit of black that got onto my brush. So I'm just gonna wash it out really good, dry it off, and then we're gonna go again into the green. And it's okay, it's kind of muted and dark. It's the first layer. We're just gonna let it be, let it dry, and keep moving on, then we'll add a second layer. So more green, load up your round number 8 brush. And now we're gonna go ahead, let's add some nice swirls over onto this one here. So we're gonna start right here, and we're gonna go up and over and curve. So ready? Here, up, over, and curve, like that. And the paint is still pretty wet, so that's okay. I'm just gonna wash my brush out and load up with more green. Make sure you have quite a bit on your brush of green paint. So there you go, lots of green paint. So we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna go right on top of what we just did and just glide it on top. There we go. So let me bring that closer so you can see it. So there you can see the stem. And those vines coming out from the stem. So that's our start. So we're gonna go ahead, more green. Now we're gonna go ahead, I'm just gonna add a little bit more of a curve in there. Now let's go in and add another curve, and it's gonna kind of come down a little bit further. So we're gonna start off, same point, and it's gonna come down, up, and then curve. And again, I'm gonna wash my brush because I got a little bit of the orange on it. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and just drag on top. Beautiful. And we're just gonna add a few more in the background just to kind of hold it all together. And we're just gonna have a few. You can pick really anywhere you wish to add more vines. Just remember, loose, use your whole entire arm. And they can go right on top of the polka dots too. And we could even add a few leaves. So if we want to make maybe a curly cute into a leaf, there we go. We just add another side to it. Maybe make a little bit more of a point. And some more leaves coming off the side. Filling in this first leaf we did. And you can always add a little bit more of the darker green on the undersides. Now I'm going to go ahead. Once you have all of those vines in and some of the leaves, I'm gonna go into some white with a clean round brush, and I'm just gonna put in a coat of white and clean up the edge of the polka dots. That way they're just nice and sharp and clean looking. So quite a bit of paint, and I'm just going in a circular motion. You can see already how that really helps. There we go. And now with a bit of white still on our brush, we can just do a few little highlights here and there on our leaves, on the stems. You don't have to, but you could add just a little bit here and there. And I'm just really not putting any pressure on my brush. I'm just dragging it, and it's just sort of mixing with the existing colors on the surface. added a little bit of some white into my green, just to smooth that out a little bit. There we go. Voila, we've done it, you guys. Our first Halloween inspired paint along. And so we will continue with these Halloween inspired paint alongs every Sunday, 1 to 2 o'clock. They will be posted afterwards on Facebook and on my YouTube channel, Wilhelmina Art Studio, which please subscribe to. Now to finish this off, we're just gonna add a little white to our round brush. And I love doing just a simple signature in the corner, which is just my initials, a W and a G. And we're just gonna scoot that back there so you can see that from a distance. There we go. That was so fun, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me this Sunday. And if you can, and only if you're able, if you can make a Venmo donation to me, my account is WillowG3, and I'm wearing a black beret. And that would be most appreciated. And just thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this pumpkin and polka dot paint along. And I hope you join me next Sunday, which is going to be a Hocus Pocus. So make sure you watch the movie, and then we're gonna do a paint along on Sunday. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a great day and an artful one.